So what's going on, guys? DIY Dan here again. This is another mechanical video. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to replace the bumper trailer connector, and I'm also going to be replacing the pigtail with the harness that attaches to that trailer connector from the harness that comes from the vehicle. I'm also going to go over the reason I replaced mine and why you might need to replace yours. And because my truck also came equipped with a trailer connector in the bed for either a gooseneck or a fifth wheel hookup, I'm going to be showing you how to replace that as well. Now I'm doing this on my 2017 Chevy 2500 HD with the Duramax engine. However, this process is pretty much identical on any newer Ford, Dodge, or Chevy vehicle with a towing package. Now we are Amazon affiliates, and I will put the links to the parts that I replaced in this video along with the tools I used to diagnose and replace those parts in my description if you need to get any of those coming. Now let's get to it. So one of the easiest ways to determine whether you might need one of your trailer connectors on your vehicle is just take a look at it and see if you have any bent or broken pins on that trailer connector. If you do have a bent connector, there is a possibility of just getting a pair of needle nose in there and bending it back straight. However, this can make that brittle, so you do need to be careful that it's not going to break or possibly break in the future. You also want to look at those tabs and make sure they're nice and clean and not filled with any type of corrosion or dirt that could possibly give you a bad connection, and if so, you might just be able to clean it up instead of replacing it. However, my specific situation was not that simple. I was actually chasing down a problem with my truck throwing the check trailer wiring on my instrument cluster. Now in my specific situation, this did not take care of that problem with the check trailer wiring coming on my dash. However, the things I go over in this video could definitely be a reason why that check trailer wiring comes on your vehicle. And I will put the icon to what actually was causing it on my vehicle at the end of this video if you want to check that out. So while I was trying to diagnose the problem with my check trailer wiring going on in my truck, I was using a multimeter to do a voltage test at that pigtail on the back of the truck to make sure all of my powers were going through for the actual trailer. So while doing this test, I had somebody in the cab of the vehicle operating those items, and then I had my multimeter set to DC volts, and I put my black lead down to the receiver hitch for a ground, and basically I was testing the powers going to each one of the pins for each one of the turn signals and the tail lights. On newer vehicles with a tow package, if you are not seeing that voltage on one of the connectors, go ahead and check your fuses in your owner's manual. Most likely there is going to be fuses just for the trailer tail lights, left turn, right turn, power for your electric brakes, and there will also be a fuse for the constant battery supply going to the trailer. Now at this point, I did remove the fuse for the constant battery supply going to the trailer, and I'm going to explain why in a couple minutes of this video. And this is a little off subject for this video. However, if you have an older toy hauler or camper, there's also a possibility there might be fuses in the junction box at the front of the trailer just for the trailer as well. Once checking all the powers at my lights, I also wanted to verify my ground was good to that pigtail. So then I went ahead and left the black lead on the receiver hitch, because I knew that was a good ground because it was giving me positive voltages when I was checking everything. And I went ahead and went to ohms on my multimeter instead of volts. Clipped the red lead on the ground that is inside that trailer pigtail and read the ohms or resistance I was getting on that ground. Now you might have a little bit of resistance, but it should not be very much. And if it's jumping around like mine was when I was wiggling the harness on the back side of that bumper connector and going to an open, that definitely could be a problem. Now, if you're not getting an intermittent reading when you're wiggling that harness and it is just a really high reading, you could always check your ground from the battery of the vehicle down to the chassis. So I actually had a problem with this as well. You'll notice I'm using a power probe to test ground. And you can also just put your multimeter on ohms in order to check the resistance of this ground. A power probe is basically a circuit tester, and it's just a convenient way to do that. Now, a power probe has a positive and negative that you attach to the battery, and then it basically tells you whether you have a power or a ground going to the tester when you're testing certain items. So when I realized I had this issue, I was hooked up to my toy hauler. We were getting ready to go on a trip, and the stupid check trailer wiring came on the instrument cluster again. Now, the key to this is that I do have the hazards on the truck right now, and you'll understand as I explain this video. So right here, you'll notice I've got the power probe and I'm just testing the ground on the battery, and I've got a nice solid green light with a buzzer telling me I have a good ground. Then I went over to the engine block and I had the same. Next, I went over to the actual cab of the vehicle right on a ground strap, and once again, I had a nice solid green light with a buzzer telling me that ground was good as well. However, when I went to any part of the chassis or the trailer connector on the back of the vehicle and I tested that ground, I was getting an intermittent green light and an intermittent buzzer coming on my tester, telling me I had a ground that was not sufficient, and it was basically giving me a bad ground every time that flasher would kick and the turn signal would click. And I'm going to let you listen to that for a second real quick. Now, because I was getting that intermittent ground every time the turn signal actually came on, and that meant I had a bad ground and I was getting ready for a trip, I just made my own heavy-duty ground cable and attached it to the battery and went down to the chassis, cleaned up the frame a little bit, and bolted it in place. And I haven't had that problem since. So here's a little clip after putting that ground in place, and you can see I've got a nice solid green light and a beep saying I do have a good ground. And truth be told, it's probably been over a year that I actually put that temporary ground cable in, and I still haven't taken the time to actually find the proper ground cable that's supposed to run from the chassis up to the battery or the engine. Bingo. No more pulsing ground. We have a solid ground now. So now I'm going to get into actually replacing these pigtails if you discover you do have a problem. So right here, I am just disconnecting the vehicle harness from the bumper trailer connector underneath the truck. In order to remove the vehicle harness from that trailer connector, there is a plastic tab that you will need to squeeze in order to lift it up and over the tab that is on the trailer connector itself. Sometimes these can get packed with dirt, so sometimes if you have an air compressor, it might be helpful if you're struggling to get it removed to blow out that connector as best as possible before trying to remove that pigtail. Now you'll notice the extra white wire hanging down there. That was an extra ground that I basically teed into the ground pin on the trailer connector and went to the chassis that I did while on a trip trying to get rid of that stupid check trailer wiring warning and buzzer on my instrument cluster. That ended up being unsuccessful, by the way, but it was something I tried to do when I was trying to diagnose that problem. So right here I'm getting ready to cut the old connector off of the vehicle harness. And before doing that, you want to make sure all of your lights are off and that you pull that 30 amp fuse for the constant battery supply to the trailer. Otherwise, there's a good chance you're going to pop that fuse when you cut through these wires. Now, the better option here before doing this project is go ahead and disconnect the one ground off of your one battery if you're a gas vehicle and both grounds off of both of your batteries if you are a diesel vehicle, so you don't have to worry about popping any fuses. I just didn't want to take the time to do that, which is why I just pulled the one fuse and made sure all my lights were off. So right here, I've got all the wires cut, and I'm just checking with my voltmeter to verify what colored wires were doing what functions on the truck. And the reason I'm doing this is because there is a couple different wiring schemes between vehicles and manufacturers and trailers that are different from each other instead of one universal color for your trailer wiring. So I stripped all the wires back a little bit, then once again used my voltmeter, put the black lead on a ground to the chassis, and then tested with my red lead the volts that were coming out of those wires when I had somebody in the cab operating each function. If you're not getting a good voltage reading on any of the wires when the functions are on, try moving your black lead on your voltmeter to a different location on the chassis, or possibly just scrape the metal a little bit and then try it again. You could also strip back the white wire on that trailer connector and use that for a ground, because that is a ground going back to the trailer through that pigtail harness. So on the vehicle side of my 2017 Chevy 2500, the brown was for the tail lights, the yellow was for the left turn, green was for the right turn, the white was for the ground, the red was for the constant battery supply, and the blue was for your electric brakes. And then on this vehicle, there is also a white wire with a green stripe that is your reverse lights. That I did not actually test, but once I tested the rest, it was the only one left, so I automatically knew that's what it was. So this is the pigtail harness that I got off of Amazon. It came with the pigtail to plug into the trailer connector. It also came with butt connectors that actually have heat shrink on them to insulate these connections and make them watertight after you put it together, which I thought was pretty good. And since it was easier to crimp these connectors on this pigtail harness, I did it on the ground instead of doing it up while it was under the truck. So right here is the wire color to the function that came on this pigtail harness, which is why it was so critical that we went that extra step and checked what was coming out of the vehicle. Now, for the most part, everything matched up except for two of the functions on this pigtail. You'll notice that the battery supply is actually the black wire instead of the red wire that is on the truck. And then the reverse light is the smaller red wire on the pigtail instead of the small white wire with the green stripe that was on the vehicle. And that is why it is so critical to go by the function when you're matching these wires up and not necessarily the wire color. Now you'll notice there is two different colors of butt connectors, and the reason for that is there is going to be two different sizes of wire on that pigtail harness and on your vehicle most likely. The yellow butt connectors are for larger wires, which are going to be your ground, your constant battery supply, and your electric trailer brakes. And then the blue connectors are going to be for your smaller sized wires, which are going to be your left and right turn, tail lights, and reverse lights. Whenever splicing something together with two different size wires, I always go with the thicker wires first because they can tend to be more of a pain in the ass to maneuver around once you get more and more wires connected. So you'll notice I've crimped the white wire, which is the ground, to the pigtail to the white wire on the truck because it was also the ground. Then I also did the blue wires to each other because those were both for the electric brakes. However, the black wire from the pigtail harness went to the large red wire on the vehicle because of those different functions to the wire color. Now, one thing I am a firm believer in if you're doing a project like this is having a good pair of wire crimpers. The reason I say that is because I have been in the automotive industry for over 20 years now, and I've seen several times where people had crappy crimpers and that crimp did not hold and those wires would vibrate loose over time, and then you're redoing a project that you had already done. Not to mention the time and energy that it takes to go back and figure out what went wrong after that situation happens. I'm actually using a set of Work Pro crimpers that I've had for a couple of years now. I got them off of Amazon. They were actually of decent quality. I haven't had any issues, and they are rather on the cheap side. And I will put the link to this product in my description if you want to get it coming. There's two key features that I like about these crimpers besides the fact that they were pretty cheap. One of those being is that they have nice long handles, which allows you to get good leverage and put a solid crimp to that connector. The other thing is where it actually makes the crimp is pretty wide, which allows more surface area for it to hold that crimp on that connector. Now, when using a good pair of crimpers like this, there is one thing you have to watch out for. You have so much leverage that you can over crimp and actually pinch the wire to the point where you actually cut the wire, which is what you're about to watch me do. This very rarely happens on decent sized wires, but when you are crimping small wires like this reverse power, it can happen. And then when I tried to butt connect that wire back again, it was too short, so then I had to add a jumper wire to make it a little longer so it would reach with the rest of those wires in that pigtail harness. Now, when I do have to make wire connections, I like to use uninsulated butt connectors with heat shrink over the top of them to give me a nice waterproof seal, just like the connectors that came with the pigtail harness. Once all my wiring connections are made, I just used a small butane torch in order to melt the heat shrink over the top of all those butt connectors down onto the wire. You do have to be careful when using an actual torch to do this because you can overheat that heat shrink and it will start to tear. A much safer option to go with is a heat gun. If you are worried about that happening to you, you could also just use a house lighter and that works as well. So the rest of the wiring connections were brown goes to brown for the tail lights. Yellow went to yellow for the left turn signal and brake. Green went to green for the right turn signal and brake. And then once again, because we had that different function to wire color for the reverse lights, the small white with the green stripe wire from the truck did go to the small red wire on the trailer pigtail. Once I finished melting the heat shrink, then all that was left to do was go ahead and put that split loom tubing back over the wires and then use some electrical tape to finish protecting those wiring connections. So if you do not have a trailer connector in the bed of your truck, you're just going to go ahead and push that harness right through the back of the bumper. Then go ahead and hook it up to the trailer connector. Make sure you listen for that snap of the plastic detent to make sure it's secured properly. And then when I pushed this new connector back into place, it was a little loose. So I ended up popping it back out, and you'll see I'm using that screwdriver to widen the clips that hold it in place out a little bit. So when I pushed that trailer connector into the bumper, it had a much tighter fit and wasn't wiggling around. Once finishing that, you can go ahead and pop your fuse back in for the constant battery supply to the trailer. And that's all there is to replacing that bumper trailer connector and the wiring harness pigtail going to it. So now I'm going to go over the replacement of the bed trailer connector that I have in my vehicle. So the first thing I did was just remove the 4 screws out of the bed that held that trailer connector in place. Then went ahead and pulled that trailer connector out into the bed a little bit so I could disconnect the wiring pigtail from it. So as I had mentioned earlier, these pigtail harnesses can be a little bit of a pain in the ass to get off of the trailer connector. And right here you'll see I'm using a pair of channel locks in order to squeeze that locking clip so I could get that trailer connector removed from the pigtail harness because I could not do it by hand. Then I used a piece of tie wire to wrap it through the harness so that when I pulled that wiring harness down through the bed, I could use the tie wire to pull the new harness back up into place. Once removing the old harness, I just cut that tie wire, hooked that tie wire to the new harness, and pulled it up back through the side of the bed in the same path the old harness came out. Now when I went to pull the new harness back up through the hole in the bed, for whatever reason, probably because of the aftermarket pigtail harness, it would not quite fit through the hole, and I did have to use a die grinding bit just to open it up a little bit in order to get it to fit through that hole. Once pulling the new wiring harness through the hole in the side of the bed, then all that was left to do was go ahead and take that trailer connector, snap that plug into place, once again listening for that detent to make sure it's secured correctly, and then push it in place and put these screws back into the bed to hold that trailer connector to the bed. So real quick before showing you the rest of the connections that are made under the vehicle, I'm going to show you on the workbench because it just makes it a little easier. So right here I just have the trailer connector in the bumper and the vehicle harness, and if you don't have an in-bed connector, those two just go ahead and attach to each other. However, if you do have the in-bed trailer connector as well, it basically piggybacks off of those, so all you're going to do is unplug the one going to the bumper, plug the bed harness into that, and then the bed harness into the bumper connector, and you're good to go. So right here I'm doing that underneath the truck, and you can see I've got the bed harness and I'm plugging it into the bumper trailer connector. Now as I had stated earlier, how that aftermarket trailer connector was a little loose in the bumper at first, and right here as I was trying to push that bed connector into it, I realized that it was a little looser than what I wanted it to be, so that's when I decided to go ahead and push it back out the back of the bumper, run the harness through the bumper, make that connection, then spread those tabs and snap it back into place. Once I was happy with how tight that trailer connector was in the bumper and that connection was made, I went back under the truck and went ahead and made the connection from the vehicle harness to the other side of the bed connector harness, and that's about all there is to it to changing out these pigtails and harnesses and trailer connectors. All that was left to do after that was just use a couple zip ties to tidy that harness up, and that's about all there is to it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and it gave you some good information. If so, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it. The whole concept of my channel is to give you guys the most information in the least amount of time as possible so I don't waste your time. And I hope to see you next time. Have a good one. Later.